You're watching Caribbean Vibrations. Give us a call at 416-451-8596 or email us at caribbeanvibrationstv@gmail.com.
Who are we? We are the issue of an ancestry that offered a legacy. And by our deeds and our declarations, we've caused this nation to pause and ponder what manner of people are these. We are the products of suffering and sacrifice. We're those who, like silver, must be captured in a story. We're wise and we're watchful as we weigh the past against the present. We hear old concerns packaged and treated as being brand new. We hear proposals that offer, but only partially fulfilled. Thus we are cautious.
Well, my life has been a book of successes and failures all through my life. As I said, coming from a disadvantaged area, a family that was relatively poor, for me it was about learning early that life can be what you want it to be. And you have to take responsibility for whatever that destiny is for yourself. And so, when I was a kid, my oldest brother said to me, every Saturday morning he would make me go cut the lawn. I was the youngest of 6 kids, and there were 5 other brothers, but every Saturday morning I had to go cut the lawn with my oldest brother. And one day I asked him, I said, why is it that I'm the guy who always has to go cut the lawn on Saturday? And he says, because you always believe in excellence. And when the lawn gets cut, you do it right. And so I want to just do it right every Sunday, so I get you. And what that instilled in me was that there's a reward behind hard work and excellence in all that we do. And I quit looking at it like he was picking on me and realized that he was giving me a badge of honor as opposed to just picking on me. Yeah, my grandmother died when I was about 11 years old. But I can remember virtually every day of my life up until the time she died, where she would embrace us and bring us around her, and we'd sit with her, and she'd just impart values. She'd impart knowledge. She'd talk about excellence. She had a 3rd grade education or something like that, but she knew enough. She had enough wisdom to continue to pour into us, and she's been my inspiration throughout my entire life, and obviously my oldest brother, who picked on me by making me cut the grass, but he did teach me virtually everything that I could imagine being taught. Don't try to wait for somebody to inspire you. Inspire yourself. This world is interesting. For someone with desire and with talent and ability, you can do and be anything that you want to be. If I can be the president of General Motors of Canada, or in past assignments, the president of General Motors of Mexico, and all of the things that I've done in my life, coming from my background, anybody could be that as well. So go inspire yourself and be all you want to be, not what you think others want you to be.
We are cautious. For we're sensitive to broken promises. We're candid, for our lessons have taught us forthrightness. We're strong, for we have learned the tools for survival through our existence. We're ethnic black. We're talented, creative, and imaginative. Our capabilities are diverse. Our credentials are multifarious. Our qualifications are excellent. We're determined to claim the Victor's Cup. We're motivated by the heartbeat of our struggle. We are those who are from the north, the south, the east, and the west. Who are we? We are the heterogeneous. We're the dedicated and the determined. Who are we? We're the thinkers and the doers. Who are we? We're today's choice and today's challenge. Know us, for our story shall be continued. I'd like to take an opportunity to thank the BBPA for inviting me here, and my good friend, Pauline Christian, for asking me to be here this evening. And it's an honor for me to join you this evening. Now, I came prepared to talk to one group and one group only. Young people. Where are the young people? Stand up on their feet, the younger people. Stand up. Now, I know you're older. Young people, what I want you to know is this. that I'd rather be right now than spending this time with you. Now, before I begin my formal remarks, let me share with you a short story. I'm reminded of a short story about a young man that was traveling to Egypt and he wanted to rent a camel. So this young man went to Egypt and he rented a camel. And the instructions that were provided to him said to get this camel to walk, say the word wow. To get the camel to run, say it twice, wow, wow. And to get the camel to stop, say the word amen. So the young man mounted the camel, and after he was comfortable in the seat, he said wow, and sure enough, the camel began to walk. And after riding for a short distance, he felt really comfortable, so he said wow, wow, and the camel began to run. After a while, the young man looked ahead and he noticed that he was going right towards the edge of a big cliff, but he forgot what to say to get the camel to stop. Not knowing what to do, he began to pray. And after he had prayed, he said amen. Sure enough, the camel stopped right at the edge of the cliff. From the edge of the cliff, the young man looked down and he was so taken by the view, he took a deep breath and said, wow. What the young man found out is that clear directions and timely execution is important. And in fact, in this particular case, it was absolutely imperative. And that's what I want to share with you young people today. As I look out, I'm inspired to see so many eager young faces, many trying to find out who you are and which directions you'll take in your life. And some of you may not have all of the answers. And some of you may be here without a dream. And some of you may have a dream, but you're without the context of how to achieve that dream. You're facing an uncertain future, an uncertain job market. But by believing in yourself, by fulfilling your own promise, your own excellence, you can achieve greatness. Now, the job market in Canada and North America is a little bit challenging right now. There are fewer jobs, and these jobs require one thing and one thing only: more and more education and more training. And in order to qualify, you must prepare yourself to a higher level. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm nobody special. But because of my commitment to excellence, because of my commitment to hard work, and my commitment to the pursuit of education, and because we must never stop learning, I stand before you today. And what I'm going to share with you, young people, are 5 important things that are essential, that were essential to my success. These 5 critical factors will provide you a clear set of directions to help your life to become more successful as well. That's it. Just like the guy on the camel. A clear set of directions. So some of you, those that came prepared, take out your pencils, take out your paper, and capture some of this. My first direction to you today is to dream big dreams. So let me just take a minute to share with you my humble beginnings. I grew up in the United States, from the state of Maryland, for pretty much all of our lives. My family were extremely poor. My parents never married, and I'm the youngest of 12 children. My father drove a school bus on the military base, and my mother worked 3 jobs until her health failed at age 41 and she couldn't work anymore. And my dad left the family when I was 9 years old. And while all of my 11 brothers and sisters graduated high school, none went on to university. And for that matter, no one in my entire family had gone on to university. The only example of university-bound kids from the area I grew up in lived truly on the other side of the tracks. So the only examples I had of university-bound kids, they didn't look like me. They lived in another area of town. So there were no examples that I had to draw from. And I remember once, true story, searched my entire family tree from top to bottom. No one had ever gone to university. I'm the very first that I could find in my family. No aunts, no uncles, no cousins, no friends, no neighbors. There were simply no examples, absolutely none. Of the 6 boys in my family, my oldest brother died at birth before I was born. The second oldest joined the Army. He went to Vietnam. He came back alcoholic and died in a car crash shortly after returning home. My next brother was a great boxer. He was a Golden Gloves champion in Maryland, but he didn't pursue his dreams of boxing. He became a carpenter instead, and now he's an alcoholic. The next brother joined the Army for two tours of duty, and when he returned, he came back with a drug addiction, and he's fighting the drug addiction 30 years later. And the next brother, 1 year older than me, his name was Lionel. He simply wandered from place to place. Last week, he returned from prison after 16 years. Now, I had no examples to draw from, but young people, what I had was the audacity to dream big dreams. As far back in my life as I can remember, I could imagine what my life could become. You know, once I was in middle school. Some of you may be in that situation. I was once in middle school, and I was asked the question what I wanted to be. And I said I wanted to be a businessman. I didn't even know what a businessman was. All I know is that it sounded good. So students, young people, I stand here today somewhat of a miracle. By all accounts, like my brother Lionel, I should have become a wandering generality, yet God has made all of us to become meaningful specifics. In my case, I had the audacity to dream bigger dreams. And I'm not talking about the kind of dreams that come to a sleeper. Those dreams drift away when the sleeper wakes up. I'm talking about the kind of dream that allows me to stand here today as the only African American in the history of the largest automotive company in the world to become president and CEO of a $25 billion company. I'm talking about big dreams. Big dreams. By the nature of who you are, you have that same possibility. Young people, you're obligated to imagine your life and to create the grandest vision possible for what you'll become. And you have to look beyond what is currently available and capture all of the possibilities. Dr. Cornel West, noted professor from Princeton University, he says this: you must create a habitual vision of greatness and become something larger than yourself. And young people, every one of you has something that you're good at. And I know that every one of you has something to offer. And you have the responsibility to discover what that is. And you must believe in yourself even when others don't believe in you. And stand tall and pursue all of your dreams. Remember, it's your obligation to dream your own dreams. And my direction to you today is to make them big dreams. My second direction to you today is to design your own destiny. President Obama, in his first speech on Washington on education, he said this: no one's going to give you a future. You got to go get that for yourself. This is a simple principle, young people. You have the ability, now it's your responsibility to decide what your capabilities are. Never let anyone else limit you by what they think you're capable of achieving. Let me give you a true story. I remember once when I decided that I wanted to go to university, and I remember I was so excited about the possibility, and I remember calling a very close relative of mine to share the great news. And even as I stand here this very moment, I can almost feel that same excitement of my anticipation of going to university. But I'll never forget what my relative told me on that day. University. Why would you go do a thing like that? You just need to go get a job and stop that foolish thinking. She said, no one has the money to send you to college or university. Besides that, you're not smart enough to go to university. And this was my first brush with someone else's perception of what my destiny should be. Now, the second time I came face to face with a limited perception of someone else's idea of my destiny was shortly after I hired up in the General Motors Company. I was within the 90-day probationary period. And my supervisor my first supervisor made the recommendation that I be terminated from employment. His reason for my termination after just a 60-day evaluation was that I had not shown the capability or the intellect to perform at the standard of a GM employee. Now, obviously, I never signed that evaluation. What I learned from both of these experiences and many others during my nearly 30-year career is to never let the noise of someone else's opinion drown out your own inner voice. You need to have the courage to follow your own heart and your own intuition. It's your own heart and your own intuition, your own heart and your own intuition that will determine what you'll become. Young people, you've been born with brains and a tremendous natural ability, and by the nature of who you are, you've been gifted by God with capability and intellect. Never let anyone take a measure of your worth or your capabilities. And while the odds may be stacked against you, you must literally refuse to allow others to hinder you from becoming what you're meant to become. I would say to you, young people, always stand proud in who you are, and let that be the only answer for how your destiny is designed. Young people, no one can define your destiny but you. My direction to you today is take responsibility for it. My third direction to you is to make excellence your standard and stand with giants. I have two beautiful, very intelligent daughters. My oldest daughter is Elisa. She's 20 years old, and Kaylin, she's 17. And since they each were about 3 years old, I had a morning ritual with them before they went off to school. And Kaylin today is here, and she'll go through this ritual every day. Every day, I'd meet them at the front door of our house, and I'd ask them two questions. The first question is, what's the word? And they say, excellence. And then I ask them, why excellence? And they say, because we're capable. Every day since they were about 3 years old, what's the word? Excellent. Why excellent? Because I'm capable. Now, this past summer, my daughter Elisa, it's going to sound a little bit like I'm a little proud dad. It's going to sound a little bit like that, so be prepared. Right, this past summer, Elisa, my oldest daughter, who attends Yale University, started an internship at an investment bank in Manhattan in New York City. And before she went to the internship, I asked her, Lisa, what's the word? And oh yeah, I got the same, oh Dad, the word is excellent. And then I said, why excellence? And she said, because I'm capable. Well, at the end of the summer, Lisa received an evaluation of her performance on Wall Street. And you know what it said? You know what it said? Excellent. What's the result? Bank where she works already offered her another position next summer, making $35,000 for that 3-month assignment. And I was in parent-teacher conference this week. I do it every time. I never miss. Right? I found out, my wife and I found out that my daughter Kaylin is the #1 ranked student in the 11th grade at the York School here in Toronto. I ask my daughters this question because I want them to know the reality of their world. A world that is changing and a world with excellence is the only answer for their success. Young people, this is also the reality of your world. It's a world where if you're not prepared, you cannot succeed. In fact, you won't reach your goals. Let me share with you one more true story. In 2003, I got my first appointment as a vice president at General Motors Company. And shortly after this promotion, I was invited by the president of the company to come down to the headquarters building. And I met the president in his office, and we walked from his office to a room at the end of a big hall down in a dimly lit corridor. And inside the room were many pictures of people and events in General Motors history. In one corner of the room, we arrived at a wall of paintings of GM past chairmen, the people who had run the company. Each painting was approximately 120 centimeters high, and it had these beautiful gold leaf frames around these pictures. And as we stood there, looking at these almost lifelike paintings, people like Alfred Sloan, Billy Durant, Frederick Donner. I remember thinking that these are some of the most important men in the history of the automotive industry. And as we reached the picture the last painting of GM's most recently retired chairman, Jack Smith, I'll never forget the words of the president on that day. He said this to me: "Young man, because of excellence, you are now able to stand in a place where giants have stood." Now, I would say to you, young people, make excellence your standard for all that you do in your life. And understand you can't half-step your way to success. You have to deliver the goods. And I've also found out that there's no room for mediocrity in the executive suite or anywhere else in that matter. Average performance, where I come, average performance won't cut the mustard. Excellence is the only answer for your success. And from the U.S., where I come from, average performance only brings home a grade C. But remember that a grade C won't see you through. You've been given tremendous opportunity to be in school. But some of you are fooling around with your education. Young people, you must hold yourself responsible for a higher standard than anyone else expects of you. Never excuse yourself, or never make excuses for yourself. Never pity yourself and become a hard master of yourself. There's an incredible world of possibility out there, but you must deliver the goods. You know, legendary football coach, American football coach Vince Lombardi once said this: "Performance is not everything. Performance is the only thing that counts." And young people, by making excellence your standard, you also will be able to stand in places where giants have stood. My fourth direction to you today is to make education a priority and unleash the power of your potential. Now, as a community, all of us, we have to move forward with a new philosophy of academic empowerment. The statistics right here in Toronto are somewhat catastrophic. You know them as well as I do. In Toronto alone, depending on the school, 4 out of 5 of every 10 black students never finish high school. 4 out of 5 out of every 10 never finish high school. That's right, nearly half never finish. And those that graduate, many finish below the academic average. What that means is far too many of these students are finishing high school with certificates of attendance rather than the academic degrees of excellence. Some of you in the room are going off to school every day expecting the principals or the administrators or the teachers to provide you with the essential tools for your survival, but you haven't yet understood that you are responsible for your education. Too many young people have gotten into the bad habit of blaming someone else for the lack of knowledge or capability, and I simply don't accept that. Because of anybody, I could have made those same excuses. Remember, I was from a poor family. I lived in the ghetto. My father left when I was 9 years old. And it would have been easy for me to make those same excuses, but I know this: excuses are monuments of nothingness. They build bridges to nowhere. And those who use these tools of incompetence are masters of nothing. In my case, I refused to act like a victim. No one had to encourage me to go to university. No one made me go to university. No one took me there and nobody paid my way. I did that myself by working full-time while I was in the university. And I went there because of the internal fire that was burning inside of me. And you must light your own internal fire. But then you have to decide what you want your life to be. And I mean that you got to decide that right now. And you can't act like a victim either. You must take responsibility for your own education. Don't blame your lack of knowledge or desire or what you don't have on somebody else. You must aspire to higher and higher levels of academic excellence. For education is knowledge. And knowledge is something that no one can take from you. And knowledge leads to how much wealth you have. And how much wealth you have will determine where you live. And where you live will determine where your kids go to school. And where your kids go to school will determine their lifelong earnings. This becomes what I call a perpetual cycle of success. You know, since I went to university and I graduated, 3 of my sisters older than me went back to university. Since I went to school at university, every niece, every nephew, everybody has gone to university that had the opportunity to go to university. This becomes a perpetual cycle of success that will take away all of the excuses. So understand, young people, this. The key is education, not an explanation. The key is preparation, not procrastination. And you must pursue the academic degrees of excellence. The BS, BA, MA, JD, ED, PhD. And it doesn't matter if you get your degree from Queens, Western, McMaster, or McGill. It doesn't matter if your degree comes from Calgary, Concordia, Harvard, Yale, or even in the mail. The key is that you must have one. Why is this important? It's important because the statistics are absolutely clear. The unemployment rate for high school dropouts in Canada is almost triple the unemployment rate for those with university degrees. More importantly, the income for people with a bachelor's degree is more than double the income of those with only a high school diploma. So let me be honest for just a minute. Too many young people walking around just hoping and trying. Is that you? Too many walking around hoping and trying. You know, I talk to young people all over the country, all over the United States, and I ask them these questions about what they want to be in their lives, and many of them say the same. Many of them say that I hope to be this, and I hope to be that. Young people, you can't hope your way to success. You have to work hard and deliver the goods. And remember, from this point forward, hope is not a strategy. You get it? Hope is not a strategy. And when I ask young people questions like, how are you doing in school? Many of them say, I'm trying. How you doing with your homework? I'm trying. How you doing? What you doing to get a job? I'm trying. Young people, if this is you, I'll tell you right here tonight, quit trying and do. Understand that education and knowledge is the fuel to ignite your dreams. So young people, my direction to you today is to make education your priority and light a fire under your dreams. My fifth and final direction to you today is to stand on the platform of integrity. You'll soon discover, maybe you already know, that we live in a complex world, and there are many people that live with this perspective that I've got mine, you just need to go get yours. And regardless of how you go about getting it, in some respects I agree with you. You should get everything that God has designed for you. What God has for you is for you. But what I found out, that the important things in this life have nothing to do with what we get. Because of this, you get exactly what you deserve, good or bad, and you'll even have a say in it. However, I believe that what's more important than what we get is how we go about getting it. You know, there are some people who will try to entice you to compromise your principles in any number of ways. They'll try to coerce you, they'll try to coach you, they'll try to distract you, even seduce you to do things that are contrary to your character. But I would say to you, young people, don't do it. You must dedicate yourself to a set of core values. You have to develop a personal constitution of sound character, accurate discretion, and the desire to execute according to high moral values. This is something that you must hold yourself accountable to and do the right thing even when no one else is watching. Remember, you don't get to the top of your game by continuously making poor decisions. We live in a world of challenge and a world of change. The life you create for your success, yourself, and the success you find along the way will depend on the choices you make every day. Now, I believe this, that this life is about juggling. Every day we're juggling many balls. Some of those balls that we juggle are crystal. The crystal balls represent the really important things in our life. Your family, your health, your dreams, your education, and even some of your friends. And there's another kind of ball, which are rubber balls, and they're less important. And the rubber balls are the things that you might have to let go to keep the priorities in the air. So young people, you may have to drop certain people, certain places, and certain things that won't help you to get to where you're trying to go. Let me speak in your terms. I would say be careful trying to do and be what you see on reality TV or on the rap videos. That stuff in most cases isn't real. So young people, quit trying to act like Nicki Minaj, Lil Wayne, Walla Flocka. You don't live on the Jersey Shore, and Snooki was nobody's role model. Instead of trying to keep up with the Kardashians, spend all of your time focused on keeping up with the race. I know you know what I mean, but let me break it down in terms that should really help you to relate a little bit more. I want you to be honest with me. A few years ago in the United States, there was a popular hip-hop dance called the pop, lock, and drop it. Raise your hand if you know what that is. Raise your hand if you know what pop, lock, and drop it is. Here it is. Let me tell you, let me put it in your term. If you just have to pop, lock, and drop it, make sure you pop up to the top of the class. Lock into a mindset of excellence and sure, drop it. Drop all the stuff that's contrary to your character. I know you know what I mean. It's time for us to move to another level. While Beyonce might tell you to the left, what I say is to go to the right, and make integrity your platform. I think you know what I mean. Young people, I want to leave you with something of significance, so I decided to teach you something that I'm sure most of you already know. Your ABCs. That's my girls group over there. They know. This is not an alphabet for learning. This is not an alphabet for living. A is for your attitude. That will best determine your altitude of how you will fly in this life. And B is for brain power. That's the best demonstration of your blackness. C is for courage to be strong and with. You neither have the motivation or the inclination to be inspired. D is for dedication to causes that are just. And E is for the effort. You must put forth every day to be a superstar, only to be considered average. F is for freedom, which is not free, and G is for the genius in each one of you. H is for our heritage, rich and pure. I is for the intuition to look beyond the obvious, and J is for justice, and the fact that we must fight every day to keep it colorblind. K is for know how to make a plan for your life, or for your future, and L is for life. And it is true, you only go around one time. M is for meditation. Take time to get to know yourself. N is for now's the hour. O is for the opportunity to make a difference. P is for the promise you hold for generations yet unborn. Q is for the questions you must be willing to ask. And R is for root. As a twig is bent, so shall it grow. And S is for survival, and it is truly survival of the fittest. T is for the truth you must tell. U is for the unity you must have. And V is for the vision. Young people, never lose sight of the top of the mountain. W is for willpower to rise to the top of the crop. And X is for X-ray. You must hold people, places, and things up to the light. Y is for you and your contribution, and Z is for the zodiac and your place under the stars. This is an alphabet for me. In closing, let me share with you another just short story. I'm reminded of a short story about a little boy who was determined to give a wise man a perplexing dilemma. This little boy was tired of the wise man always having the right answer. So he thought he tricked the wise man and discredited him. So the little boy said, "Wise man, give me an answer to this dilemma. In my hand I have a little bird. I want you to tell me if this bird is dead or is it alive?" And the wise man knew that if he told him that the bird was dead, that the little boy would open his hands and the bird would fly away free and alive. And if he told him that the bird was alive, that the little boy would close his hand and smother the bird, and the bird would be dead. Either way, the wise man would be wrong, but he insisted, "Wise man, give me an answer to this dilemma." The wise man in his wisdom looked at the little boy and said, "My son, the answer is in your hands." And young people, that's what I say to you this evening. The answer is in your hands. The answer is in your hands, whether or not you will dream the biggest dreams and create the grandest vision for your life. The answer is in your hands. The answer is in your hands whether you will take full responsibility for designing your own destiny. The answer is in your hands. The answer is in your hands whether or not you will make excellence your standard and stand in places where giants have stood. The answer is in your hands whether you will make education your priority in light of fire in your life. The answer is in your hands whether you will stand on a solid foundation of integrity and live by your own personal constitution. Young people, that's what I say to you this evening. The answer is in your hands. Thank you.
You're watching Caribbean Vibrations. Give us a call at 416-451-8596 or email us at caribbeanvibrationstv@gmail.com.